my philosophy relies on like three things in terms of like how I wanna be around the place, be around the players, the staff. It goes first with the human connection. Like I think everybody is a human being before being like a staff member, before being an assistant coach, before being a player. So I put a lot of emphasis on that. I think the connection piece is very important, like considering the human being before the player, the staff is very important. The second thing for me is about energy. I think energy is really like a powerful tool, and I think it's contagious. So like I think if you walk in a room and you bring that energy, I think like it's very communicative to the people like in that room. And the last thing is
City Clark Korea just moments away from opening kickoff.
Invite you to turn off the and turn on the game.
Deflected! Get in there! Yeah, baby!
Welcome to a new edition of the City Voice podcast. I'm joined by a very special guest for the first time, our new head coach, Yoann Damet. How are you doing?
very good. Thank you for having me.
How have your first few weeks in St. Louis been so far? How have they treated you?
It's been good. Busy, meeting a lot of people, like trying to remember all the names, trying to understand what everybody's doing. So it's been amazing to see the people behind the scene and getting to know each other.
Have you got the chance to sort of travel around the city, eat in some places yet?
No, not so much. For now, it's more like getting acclimated in the club, making sure like I meet everyone, but I'm sure I'll have a little bit of time like here and there when the family comes over.
So let's get straight into it. How did the opportunity and conversation begin about you potentially taking over at St. Louis City SC?
Yes, so it started obviously like when the club decided to move on with Corey, and Corey being brought in as the new sporting director. Again, I think that conversation really started there. Of course, I knew about the club. I came last year with Columbus to play against the team. And I knew a little bit about the club from the outside, but as soon as those conversations started, then you get to understand a little bit more about the project, about the vision. Also start seeing a little bit about the facilities, the resources that the team has. And yeah, it became very interesting very early. And it seems to be a very good place with like a very exciting project.
Did it help that you'd come here professionally for another club and seen what it's like on game day?
Yeah, it's always good to see. Like, it's always good when you visit like a team and you play away, like to get a feeling for the atmosphere. You get an understanding of the stadium, of the place. And to be honest, my biggest surprise was to have everything in one site. Like when we came here and like you go through the training facilities to go inside the stadium, it was quite impressive, to be honest. Like I was like, it's like everything is in one place and it's amazing. You don't get that often. So that definitely gave me a good feeling when we came earlier in 2025. And then like you get to experience the fans, the atmosphere in the stadium, how much they're pushing the team. So like for sure it gives you a feeling. And then when we start speaking about like getting into the job, you get a feeling of like, okay, what it could look like,
You've spent a lot of your time in North America, in the Midwest. You grew up in France. How impressed are you by the passion for soccer across the Midwest, and what are your thoughts on how people think about soccer here?
Yeah, it's incredible to see. Like I was actually speaking about that with Diego, with Corey. The club is only 3 years old, but when you see the fan base, like it feels like the club's been there forever. So again, like the culture is very strong. It's good to see. I think the players feel it, the staff also feel it, and I think it's a huge advantage for us, like to play like in a stadium that is going to be packed every weekend.
So you grew up in France. Whereabouts in France? And tell me a little bit about growing up.
Yeah, I grew up in France, born in Marseille in the south. We didn't stay long. Mostly grew up in Burgundy, in little villages here and there that you probably would see the name or recognize the name on bottles of wines. But yeah, no, amazing. Like started to get a feeling for soccer when I was 8 years old with the 1998 World Cup in France. That was my first real discovery of like the sport, and real interest grew like during the World Cup. So got my first emotion through the game, and then really started to play like when I was 8, following that World Cup. And then since then, like never left me. I took early on the path of coaching, kept on playing until my 20s. But when I felt that both together couldn't work out, like I had to make a decision, and I knew like that's what I wanted to do. So
What position did you play growing up?
I played as a center back, played at times as a center mid as well, but enjoyed playing at the back. Like at the time, we spoke more about sweeper. So I was that kind of guy, like wearing the number 5. It's actually one of my favorite players from 1998, Laurent Blanc. So yeah, that's the position I played in the past.
Were you more attached to the national team than Marseille, the club, or like? And did your parents, were they soccer fans as well?
No, not at all. That's the funny story. Is my dad was more into the bike racing, like cycling. My mom not so much into like any kind of like sports or following like on TV. So when that World Cup started, we started to watch game because it was in our country. And then like we got into it because of like the run that France were having. So we were watching game, like feeling the emotions and the passion in the country, and that's really like what gave me like the passion as well. But my dad, like speaking with him, like would tell me like before that, like he would try to bring me in the park and like kick the ball around, and never was really interested before that. So it's actually funny to be where I am today, knowing that.
What was it like playing in the south of France? Like, it's very competitive in French football, and it's a very high standard. What did you learn from playing the sport there?
Yeah, so I didn't play in the south. I played like more in Burgundy and played like around there. It's definitely like a different vibe than here. Like now I'm bringing my son, he's 3.5, and like there is like 50 people around the pitch. Everybody's cheering for the kids. I remember like growing up where it was me, my passion, training, trying to get better. I remember telling my dad, don't stay there, don't watch me, like I don't need you, like I'll be fine. So I was like very competitive, but I'd say more self-driven, like me, like trying to get better every day, enjoying playing with my mates, playing with my friend. But it definitely taught me a lot. I always felt like sport was a good school of life, and I took a lot from those years as a young player through my coaches, through my teammates, and how much I enjoy being with them.
When you had the decision about coaching professional life, how did you come to the decision? Was it your decision? Did you have like a mentor that was like, I think coaching is the better option? Like, how do you make that decision?
Oh, it's funny. Like early on, like I came across like coaches that were those mentor for me as a coach, as like maybe like a brother, like an older brother figure or a father figure. And those guys, why they were special is because they were good coaches, but they were also like, I think, educating us like on the human side. And I took a lot from them. And very early on, like I felt like what these guys are doing with me, I'd like to do it one day, like to like younger players, and try to help them grow like with the game I love, but also help them grow like on the value side, on the human side. So early on, that's what I knew. And then at some point you get a feeling. Like I love the sport. I knew I wanted to push myself and see how far I could go like as a player. But at some point you realize like the sacrifices, you realize as well, like, are you going to be good enough? Are you going to be at a level where it's even like a possibility to become like a professional player? Very early on, I knew I was going to be too far. And I knew I had a passion for the game. I knew I was going to want to stay in the game. So I thought like, if there is something I want to do, is probably coach and give back to the youngsters. So I thought I could make a career of it. It's always interesting when you start speaking with family and they start looking at you like, okay, like what serious job like are you planning on doing like in the next 10 years, because like it's very difficult to see opportunity in that area of work. But yeah, I took that path and brought me where I am today. So I'm quite happy with that.
There has definitely been a trend in soccer globally for like career coaches, but even by those standards, you started incredibly young, right? Like 15, 16 years old. How hard was it to be taken seriously as a coach at such a young age? Like when you were really, really young, what was that like? Did people think that was crazy? You should be playing?
I think like I was part of that first generation of younger players that were interested in coaching. And I think like I was part of that generation because we all played with the same coaches before that inspired us to follow their footsteps. So I started with like younger players. Like I was 16, but they were 12. So like
Right.
that credibility, that respect you have a little bit through your age and through like, again, the way you carry yourself. So I'd say those challenges, they arise later. When you start like dealing with like 18 years old, when you start entering like the professional game and like you're in your 20s, then we're speaking about like how can you be credible? How can you stand in front of a group and make sure those guys are going to follow you? But until then, like it's never been a challenge. It was more a matter of like, I know I don't know anything about coaching when I start. So like it's a matter of like, how am I gonna get there? How can I keep growing? How can I keep getting better and give back to the players at the same time? So there was a responsibility like towards them, but also like towards myself to how can I educate myself to become the best coach I can be? And this is a quest that doesn't stop today, doesn't stop tomorrow. Like it's ongoing. So that's the beauty with what we do as well. Every year is different.
And you're growing up in an era where YouTube is coming out and people are uploading coaching videos. There's more access to like player data, other coaching resources. How much do you sort of lean into those tools as a younger guy? Is that an important part, or is it just like pure, man to man, man to woman mentorship?
To be honest, like when I started, all of this wasn't accessible. Like that wasn't that easy. Like it only came out like the past 10 years maybe, where I was already like in the game, like at the professional level. So for me, like the understanding we need to have is like new generation, they need different things to learn. They need different things to be engaged, to be motivated. So I think that gives me like good insight of what those guys need to be connected to what you want them to learn, what you want them to apply. So now we've got like tools, videos, like we can use tactic boards. Like there is things with technology that you can do now that you were not able to do 10 years ago. And I think those tools, if we use them in the right way, nowadays is very important to help the players also learn and implement your ideas.
So how did you move from Europe over the pond?
It's to be honest, I'm gonna try to keep it short, but it's quite a long story. So still playing at the age of like 18, 19, a Canadian player came like in France. He wanted to try out to like get a professional contract in France, and ended up like being in our amateur club like for a little while because he wasn't 18 yet, and you need to be 18 to get those contracts. So stayed in the club, developed like a friendship with this guy, and then next summer he decides to go back. Things didn't work out, and he tells me like, hey, you should come visit. So first time ever, like I was out of the country, took the plane, went to Canada, and then I discovered like a completely different world in terms of like infrastructure, facilities at the amateur level. So in France, like if you work in club at the amateur level, there is no resources. Like the fees to play are very small. So like everything is free. The coaches are not paid. Like they're volunteer. And then I arrive in North America, and like kids are paying $3,000 to play a full season, which means coaches getting paid, which means infrastructures are bigger. Like clubs look more professional. Like even if they're amateur. And then I really discovered something new. So brought me to go back every summer and to develop like a little network of people that became friends. And that's how my first opportunity came across. Like a friend of mine started to work for Montreal Impact Academy, which is now CF Montreal. Got in touch, like opportunities came at that time, and that's how like I made the move like to go to North America.
What was the first moment where you really felt like, okay, I can make moves here. I'm feeling like I'm confident in my own abilities and I can do this professionally ongoing?
To be honest, I don't know if you can feel like that at any point. I think like for me, there is the feeling of it, but there is also the opportunities that come your way. So like when I moved to Montreal, the first feeling was like, okay, now I'm getting a paycheck as a coach, which wasn't the case in France. So it was for me like the first step in my journey was like, okay, now this is my job. And I've never considered it like one, but like now I'm doing that for a living. Then after, of course, like the more you know, the less you know. So the more you know, the more you discover that there's so much more to know. So like for me, that building block in Montreal was amazing. Spent 3 years experimenting, searching for answers, trying to discover different things. So then you're growing, then you're expanding, and then you're meeting people as well. Like I did my licenses in France, but I wanted to redo them in Canada just to discover like a new system, a new federation, how they were running their courses. And through those licenses, you discover other coaches, you start creating connection. And then those connection eventually one day, like give you a phone call and say like, hey, would you come with me like in Cincinnati? That's how it happened. And that's how you decide to make the move or you're not. Like for me, it's always been a matter of I was comfortable at certain moments in my career and in my life. Do you take a risk? Do you see that as a risk? Do you take that as an opportunity to move on, or do you stay comfortable where you are? And I've always been one where like when there is a little bit of like a challenge, like that's something that also drives me. So that's how I decided to move like from Montreal.
2 interim stints at Cincinnati. The Cincinnati fans remember that. I saw them tweeting about it. How daunting was that to take over as an interim in a team that's struggling?
Yeah, it's never easy. Like the same way you asked me the question, were you ready like to make the next step? Like I don't think you can say you're ready or not. It's like moving out of the house, like when you're staying at your parents. Like you're never ready for it until you do it, you know? So for me, being thrown out there was like an amazing experience. Like I really put like all my soul into like trying to help the club at the time. We were going through difficult times. Was I perfect? I was far from being perfect. So I'd say the first interim taught me a lot. I wasn't expecting to do a second interim like so quickly after.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing experience. Like it was very difficult time, very challenging, but I think that tells you a lot about yourself in those moments and how you can react, how you can handle things, how you can handle the pressure, while still staying like stable and remaining focused on the objective. So amazing time. I know like from a sporting side, it was difficult, but I took a lot of lesson from that.
What was the next move after Cincinnati?
After Cincinnati, I had a moment of like discovering the job, which is being out of the job. That's what people told me. Like when you first get sacked is when you first become a coach. So I had to experience that, which was a journey with myself, where you ask yourself a lot of questions, moments of reflection. I was fortunate enough to have that opportunity to jump in with the US U20 for like a camp and like again like get to do like what I love again like for 10 days, which were intense, where I worked with Mikey Varas. That was amazing. Was like a little bit of fresh air for me in that moment. And then following that, like I ended up going to Galaxy, where again like I knew a lot of the people, but I didn't know them personally. And the project like was incredible, like the vision of it, the people like within the club. So moved there as a second team head coach, and halfway through the season like transferred to the first team. It was an amazing year of transition for me. I actually thought I was gonna stay there like for a longer period of time. I really enjoyed my time there, really enjoyed the connection I made, but also like the players I came across, and yeah, it was a good next step for me after Cincinnati for sure.
And then you get onto the coast. You're finally on the coast by the beach, and then the Midwest called you back again.
There you go. And then you're getting the phone call and you're thinking like, I never thought I would go back to Ohio ever again. And yeah, I got the phone call. And of course, like I've known Wilfried for like 10 years. He gives me the phone call and it's once in a lifetime opportunity to work with someone that I'm close with. And yeah, of course, like again, discussion with Greg. Yeah, Greg, this opportunity presented itself, like understood, decided to go. And yeah, the past 3 years, incredible achievements, like on and off the pitch, like a lot of good things, a lot of positives. So definitely 3 great years like in my journey.
Being around successful coaches, like when does the urge, should I rephrase? Was the urge always to be the first team coach? Because quite a lot of people that are assistants, they stay assistants for their whole career. For you, was it always the vision? or did the vision just metamorphosize over a number of years?
It was always the vision.
Yeah.
I never put a time frame on it. I never thought like it's gonna be in 2 years or it's gonna be in 5 or it's gonna be in 10. It was more a matter of like opportunity. And again, it was also a matter of like, if I feel comfortable in what I do I stay comfortable in what I do, or do I move to the next step? And when everything comes at the same time, where like you've got those opportunities and you feel like, okay, like I'm ready, I feel like I need a challenge, I need to push myself, I need to finally reach that goal of mine because it's ahead of me, like that's when I decided to jump in. Yeah.
So you get the call, you do your interview process. We just had Carolyn in. She said that you did an amazing presentation to the club, to the board, and you land the job. Now you are the guy, and I wanted to ask you, like, who are you as a coach, and what's your playing style, your philosophy? Like, tell the fans a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'd say like my philosophy, my philosophy relies on like 3 things in terms of like how I wanna be around the place, be around the players, the staff. It goes first with the human connection, you know, like I think everybody is a human being before being like a staff member, before being an assistant coach, before being a player. So I put a lot of emphasis on that. I think the connection piece is very important, like considering the human being before the player, the staff, is very important. The second thing for me is about energy. I think energy is really like a powerful tool, and I think it's contagious. So like I think if you walk in a room and you bring that energy, I think like it's very communicative to the people like in that room. And the last thing is I'm very process driven. So like there is that need for me to make people understand why we're doing what we're doing and make them believer of like the process that we're trying to implement. So I'd say those are the big lines in terms of like my philosophy in general. And in terms of the style, for me, it goes back to what the players enjoy. The players enjoy. My son is 3.5 years old. What he wants is like to kick the ball around, to have the ball at his feet. When I take the ball from him and I make him defend, he doesn't like it too much. Every player is the same. Like they want to have the ball at their feet. They want to play. They want to feel that they're in control. So I'd say there is definitely going to be an emphasis on that. Trying to have more control, trying to be more consistent in creating like chances, trying to score as many goals as possible. But on the flip side, being proactive is not only with the ball, it's also without the ball, and trying to suffocate the opposition, trying to defend high, trying to be proactive and defend on our terms to force like turnover and then be close to goal to attack again is also like part of that plan.
Is it, would you define your style as like a positional style? Like what, if you were to compare the way that you like to play the game, are there any clubs that you look at and it's like, you know, this is a model that's quite close?
I think it's tough to speak about clubs that I'm looking at. Like there is some influences with coaches like in Europe. I think the word positional for me, like what it means is more like the clarity we can bring to the players. Mm-hmm. I think with position, we create clarity within the chaos of the game. Like again, like there's 20 guys on the pitch, like things are moving, like things are dynamic. So how can we create clarity with and without the ball? In terms of where we need to be positioned, to have a structure to attack and to create like consistency within like the way we want to attack. And then defensively, how can we create clarity to create then intensity for the players to press? That's the way I look at position, and that's the way it's important as well for me, like in what I want to implement.
What's the difference between the way that you look at pressing compared to maybe the way sort of a typical sort of gegenpressing team plays? Is there any difference?
Again, there is lots of different terminology, like lots of different things, like words in English that means one thing, like slight nuances. So what I want in the way we're gonna press, again, go back to that word, like clarity. I want guys to not have to think twice about, do I press this guy or that guy? So then I will free them from that decision making and create then more intensity in the pressing. What I want is like a collective intent of like winning the ball back as high as possible. And again, understanding that there will be different tasks within that. There will be guys like more like man-oriented, more matching up, and guys maybe more in support, more like double tasking to try to cover underneath. So again, it's more that general idea that we want to have, that we're gonna start implementing in preseason, where collectively we can be more efficient in that phase of the game.
What are your expectations of players that work under you?
In terms of my expectation from them?
Yeah.
again, what I'm like, when I'm gonna start preseason in 1 week, the idea is like this is a like blank canvas. Like I've seen many things on videos, like I've watched the team, but again, like you can watch as much as you want. Like it's not the same than when you have the feeling of the players on the grass. So it's a blank canvas. I want guys to be open-minded, coachable. I want guys with like high work rate, and I want guys, to basically enjoy the process of like, okay, let's start fresh and let's build something together.
Said that you're a process guy. The ideas that you're bringing to the club are different to what has been before. How do you stagger sort of expectations for fans? Like, is it like a phased approach? Like, what should fans be looking out for in, the first 15 to 20 games? Like, what do you expect to happen?
Of course, like preseason is going to be like a good first building block. I'd say it's going to be an integration phase, like for us, like to integrate a little bit like the playing style. And then like we go quickly from that integration phase to like the competitive phase, which like it's going to be black and then white like right away after. So how can we be like early on like competitive with what we want to do, understanding that there will be more and more nuances as we progress. So like what we're looking at is, can we build on those 6 weeks of preseason, including the first week of preparation of Charlotte, to really like implement our style, really like implement the foundation of it, and knowing that there will be different layers to that. Like we're going to start with the first layer like in preseason, and then that preseason will help us reflect and help us like move on to the next phase, like based on what we're going to see as well.
Caroline said on the podcast that we just did with her that she has an expectation of courage from the people that work for her. How does that play out in your role?
For me, courage is like being bold enough to have those ideas, to implement them and not shy away from like it's not working just now. Like the way I look at things is like everything is a process. So you've got a vision of like what it's going to look like at the end of the season. And now in between then there's going to be steps, and there is going to be bump in the ways for sure. There is going to be obstacles. For me, courage is like facing those obstacles and going head first. Also having the knowledge of like what's happening and what we need to deal with to maybe like orientate a little bit like the direction of where we're going. So being bold for me is about that. It's about like believing in what we're doing, believing in who we are, and carrying on like and moving forward.
Just talking more broadly about the game, it feels like the evolution of styles, like, one team's up and another team's down and new ideas come out, like long throws, like focus on set pieces. What are the trends in the game that excite you the most at the moment?
There is so many things, and I think like it's so different, like depending the countries, it's so different as well, depending like even like for me being like spending so much time on the East Coast and now going to the West Coast is going to be an interesting adjustment, like because I think styles could be different. I'm definitely interested in the way the game has evolved, like on the defensive side. Like you can see more and more team like going to that man-to-man approach, more aggressive, trying to go all in. Like I think there is more like boldness in terms of like we're either going to be very high or we're going to be very low, but we're going to make a decision there. So for me, it's always a good challenge to see that as how can we break that down? How can we find ways to make it through those? And on the flip side, how can we evolve as well, like on the defensive side, and be more efficient with what we want to do as well?
There's the different styles of coaches. Like some are very dogmatic about the way that they play, and some coaches have a lot more flexibility with the way that they expect their teams to play, like different styles for different teams. Like where would you fit on that scale of dogmatic or flexible?
I think you need both. I think today, like we spoke a little bit about structure, you cannot start without structure. I think flexibility comes from the structure you're going to create like with the team. So the idea is going to be to create a structure, make sure the guys understand that structure, and then start implementing like more flexibility within that structure. I don't think there is freedom without a framework before, and that's the way we're going to look at preseason. Can we implement first that framework, those foundation, and then look at that flexibility that is going to allow us to adjust like within games or from a game to another without changing who we want to be. And that's for me the biggest difference is like we are who we are, and those little changes like tactically should enable us to perform our playing style, no matter what kind of opposition we're dealing with. Like I always like that analogy of like the Formula One, like the racetrack is dry or is wet, you're gonna change the tire, but the car will remain the same. Like what I'm expecting is like our style will remain the same, but we'll adjust and use tactics to be flexible to deal with different playing style.
You're a developmental coach. You mentioned at the top end that wanting to shape the human and shape the player. How excited are you about the academy system that we've got there? And will youth feature in, I know that you haven't had a preseason yet, so I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but is having a youthful squad something that you look forward to?
Yes, for sure. I think it's very important. I think if you're good enough, like you're old enough. So like if guys are good and they deserve to play, they deserve to get minutes, they will. I think it's very important to use the academy as a tool to bring players up. Again, I'm excited to see a little bit about our system, about how the academy works, how the second team works, see if there is talent. I've always enjoyed like being that link in the past, in my previous experiences, between the academy, the second team, and the first team, because I think sometimes there is in-house solution that you could find for the team. There is actually a couple of young guys on the roster that I'm excited to see in preseason that I think could probably take a step this season. But again, it's too soon to speak, and I'm excited to see them in preseason.
In your conversations with Corey, is there the intention of making sure that all the layers building up to the first team all have the sort of same style and coaching philosophies?
We're not that far yet. I think that these are part of the conversation that we're gonna have. Again, like we have first like a job to do right now with the preseason. I think like everything's been like very busy the past month, like since both Corey and I have been appointed. So right now it's about laying the foundation. When we lay the foundation, we can start speaking about the second team and the academy. In the meantime, I think that collaboration already exists, like within the building. Like when you bump into people, when you start having certain conversation, I think like organically it will happen already. But then after, we need to speak about more of a plan of how things will happen, like more like on paper in terms of the curriculum and in terms of the thing we want to develop, like from the academy, the second team to the first team.
So you're about to meet all of the players. I understand that you've probably spoken to them all so far. How would you describe your coaching personality? What are the players to expect of you as the man?
I'd say two things. I'd say three things, actually. I'd say very demanding, but caring and supportive. That's the way I'm looking at it. Is like, can we have very high standards every day where we're going to support the players to get there, where we're going to allow mistakes to happen, and at the same time, we're going to care for the people. So that's what the players should expect. That's what I'm expecting to let them know as well as we start, is we'll be really demanding, but we'll be there to support them in that process. And then we will care about the human being first, like making sure we understand also like their situations.
High performance culture is something that's said a lot in the professional game. What does that mean to you?
For me, it's like the little habits of every day. For me, it's about like every little details of every day. And I think you need to live by those details every single day. I don't think there is a day off. I don't think there is a bad day. I think every day we need to live to those standards. That's how we build a culture. So for sure, it's going to be about building a culture, but then it's going to be about preserving the culture, because it's going to take time to build it, but it doesn't take too much time to destroy it or to have a culture that falls down. So the idea is, again, to set the standards, to make sure everybody has clear expectation of what it should look like every single day, and then to make sure everybody is accountable for it, because it's not myself only like reinforcing that. It's us as a staff, it's us with the players, it's us as a club, and that's the direction we want to take with that.
You've been about good dressing rooms and not so good dressing rooms. What about your role helps influence a good dressing room?
That's a good question. You got me thinking now. I think it's about understanding, like, there is three things the players need to have. I think there's three things that everybody needs to have. Like, that goes with that self-determination theory. Like, every human being needs to be like part of a group. They needs to feel part of a group. There is a sense of belonging, which we have as a club, as an organization. There is a need for a feeling of competencies. Like we're good at what we do, whether it's the staff, whether it's the players. Like I'm competent as a center midfielder, I'm competent as a forward, I am as an assistant coach, and then there is a need for autonomy. I think when those three things meet, I think you've got people that are highly motivated to come in, show up every day, and try to be the best version of themselves. So it's our role as a staff to be able to enable that, like in the environment, and make sure that everybody knows that we are in this together. There is good people that are competent, but then there is autonomy, like within the roles. Like we'll ask some freedom from the players. We'll let them have some freedom, like on the pitch. There is staff that is gonna have like autonomy to do what they're good at. So when we create those things all together, I think we can create a motivating environment that is also challenging with high standards, where we can drive high performance.
Corey mentioned on the podcast that he did with me recently that he likes to have positive values. He likes to be proud of the way that his players conduct themselves on and off the pitch. Like, how much of that is the responsibility of you to enact on a day-to-day basis?
We spoke about that. I told you energy is contagious. So I think like I cannot expect high energy guys to be positive, to see the glass half full instead of half empty, if I'm not like leading by example. And that goes with me, that goes with the staff. So these are part of the conversation we're going to have like early on in preseason, is again, moping around after a bad result, after a defeat, won't help anybody. It won't change the result of yesterday. But showing the energy and the belief that we have in the players and in the team moving forward will have definitely an influence on like what's going to happen next. So that's our responsibility as a staff, and that's what I want to live by every single day.
You've made some new additions to the coaching staff. Could you give us any sort of insight?
2 person will join me on that journey. One of them is David Sauvry. French, we actually grew up like in the same place. Like we've known each other since we're 12 years old.
Wow.
And we took like that same journey that I was telling you about like coaching at a young age. We were roughly the same age when we started to coach. We had the same coaches that coached us, and both like felt that passion. Both actually went to Canada. David is a Canadian citizen now, and both like followed our path like while still remaining in touch. David and I like have always stayed in touch, always like had that growth mindset about trying to get better, trying to connect, trying to like make researches about the game. And we met again and actually worked together for the first time at Galaxy. He's open-minded, forward-thinking, young coach. On the tactical side, he's got a great eye. Very process-driven as well when it comes to training. He'll definitely add a lot of value towards that side of things. So I'm really excited to have him like on the team. I think the connection with the players, how close he can get, how much he can get from the players, is definitely something exciting for me and for the staff to have. And on the other side, you've got Marcelo Sarvas, that is more known in North America, played at Galaxy, had a very successful career, won many trophies, that I came across in Galaxy. He just had retired, moved on to his coaching journey, and worked very closely to the second team at the time when I was there, before taking it over from me. Marcelo and I like both shared like a vision of the game where like we had some differences, but like enjoy the challenge that he could bring me like on that side of things. Also enjoyed like his insights about the game, like being a former player, his ability to connect with the guys, his ability to understand like the dynamic of the locker room. And most recently, Marcelo took over in Alajuelense in Costa Rica. Been really successful this year with like winning the Central America CONCACAF and the league with the club. So I'm also really excited for him to join us on that new journey. I know he's gonna bring a lot of value, and interestingly enough, like he's close with Baggio, that is already on staff, that used to play with Marcelo. So yeah, those 2 guys will be great addition when we speak about human values, energy, positive attitude, and also like high level of competencies. Like these are the 2 guys that's basically are the symbol of it.
Very exciting. You've also got a great relationship with Corey. You are in the process of roster building now. How does that dynamic work between the 2 of you? What does the relationship look like as you're like planning that vision over the long term?
I think early enough in that process, there was an understanding of like, can we define profile together? Can we understand like where we are, where we want to go, and have that clarity in terms of like the profile that we're looking at. So that process arrived like quite early. Now, the biggest challenge is for Corey to build like a department around him. So as much as we're building on the sporting side with the team and the staff, like Corey has to do the same thing like on his side in terms of director of recruitment and having scouts and having like a full like room of people that can also bring and deliver like on that. So we've been working very, very closely in terms of identifying the needs, identifying the profile, and working towards like making like moves with that. Again, it's a process. It takes time. There is what we need to do now, but there is also the long term, and we cannot sacrifice the long term plan for the short term, like for the short term benefits. So we're looking at different things at the moment. It's been an enjoyable process where like we can discuss, we can share ideas, we can bounce ideas off of each other as well. We can disagree on things, but at the same time, we know that this is what we want and this is the direction we're heading into.
So what does a successful first season look like for you? And I'm not talking about just results. I don't want to tie you down to something like that, but like what does success look like outside that?
It could mean many things for many people. If we look like internally, success will look like implementing like the style, being highly competitive, making that home field advantage like known, and creating like that feeling again, like in that stadium. That could mean different thing for different department, like the performance side, like can we get the players like fit for the style we want to play? Can we remain fit like across the season? Like we have different goals over there. In terms of like the fans, what I want them to see is like more like that feeling of like, okay, this is what we're building. We see like a clear vision. We see how we're going to be competitive every weekend. We're creating opportunities. We're scoring goals. We're being like more compact, more efficient defensively. And like I said, like the plan is really to be the same team whether we play home or away. It's going to take time to implement. But again, if the fans can see that, I think that will be a successful season. And we spoke a little bit about culture as well. It starts with us as a staff, goes with the players as well. If we can embody those values and people can feel it from the outside, we spoke about courage, we spoke about hard work. Like we have to be that team. We have to embody those values. And I hope it will transpire when people will watch the team.
How excited are you personally to get on the training pitch and get to work over the next couple of weeks?
That's what I live for. So like right now it's been a lot of talking, a lot of like phone calls, meetings, like meeting people, which is nice because like you lay the first foundation, connecting with people and understanding like what they do and how they work and how they best operate. But now it's time to do what we love doing, which is like being on the training pitch, implementing ideas, like helping the guys improve, getting their feedbacks as well, and seeing how things gel together. So I'm really excited for it, to get a feeling, to see the guys face to face. I spoke to everyone, but again, like seeing in front of someone is different than getting on the phone.
Right. Well, we have a little tradition at the end of the show. The last question or ask is that you give a little message to the fans. Anything you want to say to the City fans, because they'll be listening.
Listen, I'm really excited to see everyone for the home opener. It's a new season. We're starting fresh. We're looking forward. I'm really like excited to get the team together. We're gonna work really hard, like in preseason, to put something good together. It's gonna be a process, but we're really excited to see them like for the first game. Really excited for the season ahead. I think there is a lot of good things coming, and I'm excited to see them for the first time.
Well, there we go. That takes us to the end of the podcast. Yoann, thank you so much for joining us and giving time. I know that you're really busy working on a load of very exciting things at the moment. If you're listening to this podcast right now, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Maybe Yoann will come back a little bit later on in the season. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.